exciting part of this afternoon, and I want to say such deep thanks to Betsy, Marino, Leighton. As I mentioned at the outset, back in the fall when we were planning all this, today was supposed to be the kind of culmination of a mini room project led by Betsy and her Unreal Media team. Because of coronavirus, that all got pushed back. But instead, Betsy's been such a great partner along with Denver SeriesFest to give us a chance to talk about the future of the writer's room in the sense of mini rooms. And this is what Betsy has been doing over the last couple of years in various cities around the country. And with us are some familiar faces from our previous panels, including Cindy from our original panel, who's been involved in many rooms. Liz is continuing on. And Jeffrey Schechter was into our Are We Going Virtual room earlier. Betsy, would you like me to sort of do the little introductions for our other guests, or do you have?
I have some bios. So
I will turn this over to Betsy, and welcome to Betsy and Unreal Media and the team from Unreal Media.
Thank you. And I want to, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to thank all of you for being here, and also thank you to all the listeners who are hanging in there. We're headed toward hour 4. So this has really been a marathon, and it's been amazing, Ken. So thank you so much. So we have on our panel, you've already met Liz. And for those of you who may be just joining now, but I don't think there's that many, Liz has written kids animation for Sesame Street, Disney, Nickelodeon, PBS Kids, and Mattel. And she's just finished up a Netflix series called Izzy's Koala World, which you guys heard about. And then we have John Vandergriff, who was a writer for Coach, Home Improvement, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and who is a teacher at every film school, I think, in Los Angeles.
That's 5.
And he was also one of my teachers, as was Liz. We also have Cindy Chupack, who I just got to meet on the phone today, and I'm so grateful for you to be here. As Ken had said, Cindy has won 3 Golden Globes, 2 Emmys for her work on Sex and the City and Modern Family. And she's also directed a feature, Otherhood, and lots of TV episodes. And she has done something, she's written a book too, which is my biggest dream, so awesome. I think it's called The Longest Date, Life as a Wife. So that's great. And we also have with us Claire Taylor, who is the Director of Programming at SeriesFest, which is an amazing episodic television festival that happens to be here in Denver. And I happen to be co-chair of their board right now, and deeply passionate about this organization that helps level the playing field for writers and creators in episodic television. And then we have Misty Brawner, who is my writing partner. And also we went to screenwriting school together. Incredibly funny and incredibly talented. And Misty has been in all the writers' rooms that Unreal has done. And then we've asked Jeffrey to be here. I just met Jeffrey 2 weeks ago. And he has an amazing program called Writers Room Pro, which at the end of this session, you will get to see like a demo. Yeah. So I would love to start with Cindy telling us about what a mini writer's room looks like in Hollywood. And then I will follow up with what a mini writer's room looks like at Unreal Media.
Yeah, because I popped into this. I asked Ken because I've done a bunch of mini rooms, should I do that? And then I talked to Betsy about their model of creating mini rooms that are more democratic and accessible. So I'm here to give the sort of the, I guess, official, what some mini rooms that are going on in Hollywood are like. And just very quickly, it's kind of cropped up. I mean, in film, this happened. I don't know if they call them mini rooms, but there would be maybe a punch up of a film script before it went into production, where a lot of writers would be invited for the day, and you would punch up the script, and it's kind of incumbent on the writer of the script to try to make sure that nothing is tearing apart at the threads and all. But anyway, so I'd done that, and then more recently in television, they've started doing mini rooms to kind of be proof of the case of a show. So recently I worked on I'm Dying Up Here, which was a Showtime hour, and we had done the first season, and then Showtime wanted us to do a mini room with, I think it was eight weeks maybe, or 6 weeks, where we broke the second season before they decided whether to pick up the second season. So it was kind of like, to me, the fun of a writer's room without the oncoming train of production. You just have time to just prepare the arc of the season, and then we pitched it to Showtime, and then they gave us a second season. And we ended up staying pretty close to that. I mean, sometimes it's a selling tool and you end up departing from it. And I just did that with Alexa Young, who, if you've been here all day, you met earlier. She has a new show, a pilot script called Monogamish, about non-monogamy. And she put together a mini room that was just 6 of us, I think. And we spent 8 weeks breaking what would be the season 1, and then she wrote the second episode in a Bible. And then I was with Smilf when it was first. Anyway, so I've done this a few times with different shows for different reasons, but it's a little bit controversial in Hollywood sometimes, because a lot of times writers are just paid scale, no matter your level. And it's a little tricky when maybe you're going to be in a mini room and you're not going to stay with the series that you are contributing a lot of ideas that would be story by or would eventually lead to scripts, but you sort of sign that away. But on the upside, it's kind of a great way to work with a lot of different writers on different projects. And it's the fun part to me, because like in Alexa's room, I wasn't even tasked to write a script. It was just come in, brainstorm, work out the season, and meet new writers and work with different showrunners, see how they break down a season, that sort of thing. That was a long answer. Sorry about that.
No, great. Before we even move on, I'm just curious, in your career, because it's been so long and amazing, when did you see these little mini writers' rooms starting? And do you think this is sort of the way of the future?
Maybe, I think my very first one was Divorce, because it was happening. I don't even know if they called it a mini room, but it was Sharon and from Catastrophe, who's amazing. Am I saying, wait, why does that name sound wrong? That's right? Anyway, they had a month in New York where the guy running the show, he had some friends and writers he knew and wanted from LA, and a couple of us were moms, and we couldn't go to New York for the entire run of the show and season. And so there was like a month-long room at the beginning of the season where we were on staff, but we basically helped shape the season, and then all went off and wrote a freelance script. That was the first time, and I feel like that was, how long ago was that now? 6 or 7?
Yeah, not that long ago.
I'm losing track. But we, and then now I just have signed new contracts, like for a new pilot I'm developing, and ABC's trying to get it in the contract that you may do a mini room before season 2. So it's starting to be pretty common that they use them in different ways. And in some cases, instead of shooting a pilot and then picking up the series, they'll just have a mini room break the season before there's any pilot, and then maybe you'll just get sent to series.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember there was an article in Vanity Fair in 2018 about the mini writers' rooms, and was that the wave of the future, and was that fair to writers? But to bring it back just to Unreal, and I think I told Cindy this morning, in my early 50s, and I'm not that much older than that, but right around 51, I was like, God, what haven't I done in my career, in my life, that I would really regret? And I was like, I've always wanted to be in a writer's room. And I watched, Alexa and I went to college together, and I sort of watched her career take off, and some other people. And so I went back to school at Stevens. I'm going to put a big plug for Stevens MFA program in screenwriting. And because what I found was that I loved that experience. And I live in Denver. My career's been mostly in unscripted TV. I worked at Stars. I worked for another company called High Noon, and I've made a couple independent films, documentary and feature. And Denver is not the epicenter of writers' rooms. So, and I wasn't about to move. So I decided I'm gonna do it myself. And I had been working with John Vandergriff, who's also on this call, on a series my last year of getting my master's called Drop Shot Divas, which was basically bridesmaids on the tennis court. And we decided together to bring in some writers that were also Stevens, and formed a mini room that was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, and ended up breaking a season, and ending up with 11 episodes that I feel really proud of. And so I just caught the bug and decided to do it. And I partnered with SeriesFest. Claire was a big yes. And we've run 4 other rooms since then. And each room we end up breaking season 1, having a good idea of what could happen in season 2. And the writers are given the opportunity, kind of like you said, Cindy, of do they even want to write a script? They don't have to. But most of the writers take that opportunity, write a script, and then they get paid very little, but they get paid for their efforts. So that's what Unreal has been doing. And I wanted to give you guys a chance to hear from what the room promises is a WGA writer in the room, because I don't have that status yet. We're hoping at some point. But so we bring in a WGA writer to show run this mini room. So we have 2 of them, John Vandergriff, and Liz. I'm on speaker view, so I don't see you, Liz. But I'd love for the 2 of them to talk to you a little bit about what this experience has been like for them. And you know, Ken has also been the WGA writer in a room that we did last year in Brooklyn. And so Ken, feel free to add to that. So why don't we start with you, John?
Okay, I want to first bring up something that I can't believe hasn't been mentioned since the beginning of these panels, and I've been here since the beginning, Ken. I'm having internet issues, and I teach, so I've gone online with Zoom, and all of this has crystallized how important the internet is for everything we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, there have been times, I'm assuming at this point that I'm the one glitching and you're not, because my students laugh at me all the time because, no, you're frozen, not me. But I think, you know, we can talk about all of these technical things that we can do online, do internationally, as long as our internet works. Yeah. So I don't know about you guys. I feel pretty vulnerable to the whole thing right now.
It's because you teach at so many schools, you burned up your internet. That's all.
Well, it's something. It's a lot of Zooming. The other distinction I want to make for anybody who's been hanging out for this whole time is we've used the room mini writers. We've used the term mini writers room. That really has 3 definitions for me. One is the one that Cindy talked about, which is what they're doing professionally to develop content in Hollywood. The second being what Betsy, is she drinking right from the bottle? Oh, okay. The second one being Betsy, in saying, can we bring this experience to places outside of LA and New York, to people that don't normally get to participate? The third one is what brought me into the process to begin with, in that I'm coming from academia. And with so many of my students, the wall they were hitting is exactly the one that Betsy talked about, which is we write, we create scripts, we talk about what it's like to work as a professional. We never get the experience. So, and I've been advocating at my campuses to introduce this concept of the writer's room. It's very accessible, and it's a way not only to demonstrate what actually happens in the room, and for those of you who have been here for the full 3 hours, that's news to my students. Oh, this is how the hierarchy works. Oh, this is what the showrunner thinks. Oh, this is how you develop a season. that's one of the things that happens in the writer's room for people who normally don't get to be in there. The second thing, and we've discovered this by doing these 4 writer's room with Betsy, is we can really advance content in a short amount of time. We can take a concept, see if it has sustainability, see if it has legs, see what we can do with it, and after 2 or 3 days come out of there and say, yeah, I think we've got something here. So that's what we focused on in the rooms that I've been involved in.
Liz, do you want to add to that? You've been in several of these.
Oh, yeah, I do. What I love about this particular version of a writer's room is that it's very compressed, as John said. It's 3 days. We have been working sort of with the Quibi model of developing 10 episodes, 10-minute episodes. So it is possible to arc an entire season. It is possible to break 10 stories. And we pretty much have been doing that. It blows your head apart by the end of the 3 days, but the way Betsy sort of runs things is we've had the wonderful opportunity of going to, which we're not necessarily going to be able to do next, but going to Breckenridge or Denver and doing it. And then we have the full experience of locking down with a lovely group of people and singing karaoke at night and having amazing food. And so it's sort of like somewhere between a writer's room and a therapy session and and school, because you never
summer camp.
Yeah, summer. But in my experience also, John had come in with Drop Shot Diva, and then the one I worked on with the group was a very wonderfully high concept, really complex sci-fi character show. And boy, was that mind-blowingly fun and hard. But what we found out is that you can go down a track for a very long time in trying to break a series to test the series. Saying before, well, does the series work? It's an opportunity to test the series. When you only have 3 days, you want to do that kind of quickly, and we were able to do that. It was shocking how much we were able to achieve, I think. And it was super fun, and a very broad range of people in the room. The show that we worked on was about young and old people, and we had young and old people in the room, and a good and very, I think, diverse points of view, and that really launched us in great and difficult territory, which is the fun of it.
Yeah. I wanted to just have Misty's come into every room, and a couple of the rooms, Misty's been the creator of the IP, and just talk a little bit about sort of that journey of watching your vision become 12 other people's story too, and what that can do, and what are some of the things we've learned. You really do need to leave your ego at the door, and you really do need to trust. But you want to talk a little bit about what you've learned from the journey?
Yes. I think you started off correctly though with the ego. Being the creator when we went to Breckenridge I was very excited about it, and it was a wonderful experience to take your idea in and see where people go with it. But also you very much have to not go in and think this is my little precious baby and I can't let people change it at all. You have to have the faith and the trust in the other people that were there, which thankfully we had some really good peeps there. And we went with it. Liz ran that room. She's small, but she's mighty. And Claire was there as Celine Dion, so that really helped.
I always make that appearance.
Crank it out. But no, it was an amazing experience. It was not, I wouldn't say every moment was the easiest, but from what everyone is saying is truly what Betsy has given people is I'm probably not going to be in a room. I mean, I would love to be in a room, but for baby stepping it, to be in that room with these people from all over the country, from different age groups, from different backgrounds of, some were comedy, some were drama, some did sci-fi. It was just this collaborative, amazing, exhausting, exhilarating. And then at the end of it, you come out with something, and then you can go from there, which is what we've done with every one of them. The tennis one I think was our most completed, but again, we had wonderful people in there. And for a lot of these, we have pulled from our Stevens alum, because they're amazing writers too. And they come in, and then you get to have that interaction in that room. So I understand what everyone's saying too about the doing it via the internet, because you do get in that room and you get a feel for who's going to bring what to it. I do think for some of the people who are probably a little bit more introverted, this might be a better way, because you can kind of sit back, not feel like everybody's necessarily staring at you, but they probably are. And then given what you need to do. But it's been an amazing experience. Betsy was so on point saying, I'm in Denver, we're going to do this, we're going to bring people in. We've brought in so many people, we've had so many ideas, we've had these wonderful experiences, but it's tough, yeah. And I would say for anyone though, if you can get in any of these writers' rooms, and I saw a question pop up from someone that said, is this just for veterans or would newbies be good? I think this is, for myself, the best place for newbies to be, because, it's a smaller group, it's 3 days. So for me, I would say either one, but this is definitely a place for newbies to shine.
And speaking of that, I just wanted to talk about our partnership with SeriesFest. One of the things that both Unreal and SeriesFest share is a passion for leveling the playing field. Early in my career, I was an NBC page, and I learned first of all, it was hard to get your foot even in that door. And then I worked in various other New York. I worked for Broadway Video, and then for a couple film directors, and I was always struck as how hard it is to get inside the door to get that chance. And so I wanted Claire to talk a little bit about SeriesFest and sort of the equity that we have in picking people for this room, and we're very, very focused on women. And so Claire, do you want to talk a little bit about our partnership and the importance of equity in the room?
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't want to go too far away from the writer's room, but I do want to give everybody that's listening a little bit of context on what SeriesFest is. We are a nonprofit organization based in Denver, and our sole mission is to champion the best of episodic storytelling. So that is for people in the established industry positions, as well as new writers, new directors, new creators, new voices. When we started the company, oh my gosh, I think we're going into our 6th season, so it's almost 5 years-ish now. We were really inspired by what we were seeing happening in the independent space. And when we were asking people what their next step for the projects were, they were going, I don't know how to get my foot in the door. I don't know how to get anyone to take me seriously. And what we tried to do with our festival, that was then 3 days, is bring everybody together and kind of break through the noise and all of the stereotypes of that you can't talk to somebody because you've not had this experience before, or that there's not mentors out there for you. So we blew the windows open and we got everybody together in Denver for 3 days. And we had a fabulous festival planned for this June in SeriesFest in Denver, but we are going to go virtual this year. It'll be a little bit different, as is this panel. I think, John, you nailed it. It's very vulnerable to feel like we're relying on the internet, and to kind of connect through screens is a foreign space for me, but I think it's going to be really exciting. And if anything, what I've seen come out of this community is the bigger the challenge, the more innovation. And I think that the writer's room is one of those things. We've seen it grow from, just a small hand-picked group of our alumni that we paired in for a very unique opportunity, to hopefully we're going to be able to open this up wide and get more equity into the room and hear more new voices, because I don't necessarily think it's about the level of experience. It's about why you're the right person to tell this story, and your creativity, and learning how to be a collaborative writer doesn't happen overnight. So this is a great safe space to just come and play.
And I had talked to Betsy. You got to clarify though, like how people apply to be in your whatever, because I know everyone's thinking that and they're like, what?
Yes. So the way that we have so far done this has been to we've been invited creators who have already been in SeriesFest somehow. We've also invited college master's program students to express interest and apply. We've also, we're very committed to making sure that a certain percentage of the room, almost 70% of every room is female, but also very diverse as well. So we also had an application process on Film Freeway and through our company website, Unreal. So if people check out the Unreal site, we can make sure you know how it is that you could be a part of it. But one of the other things that Ken and I have been talking about is that you can do this on your own too. That this is not, I'm running it through my company and I'm bringing in these WGA writers, but you don't even need to do that on some level. If you have, it's sort of taking a regular writer's workshop that you might be a part of, or a writer's group, and really focusing on one idea or one concept, and all of the writers working together to elevate that concept. So I also want to encourage people, yes, come and apply and be a part of this particular program, which is Unreal Media and SeriesFest, and we want you and would love that. And but also there's no closed door here, because it's something you can also do on your own.
That's
the other thing, go ahead, Cindy.
No, I was just, when we were talking earlier, I mentioned my friend Liz Tuchillo, who also wrote on Sex and the City and wrote He's Just Not That Into You. She started as a playwright, and she had an idea for a play that would be almost like a soap. So basically had episodes, and she got together friends who were playwrights and some other writers we knew, and we all met, and then we each took an episode, which was like a night of theater, and it ran every week on Sunday, and it was so that was a way to do kind of a writer's room that resulted in a theater piece. And you could also do it if you're working on, it doesn't even have to be visual or filmed. It could be like if you have an idea for a podcast or any sort of thing. So, and I've been in writers' circles before I was a professional, just like who would meet and write. And it's just a matter of devoting, like maybe if you have a group who all want to be TV writers, you could take 1 week to work on one person's idea and try to stretch that out, and then the next week work on someone else's idea, kind of make a consortium.
And
yes,
Betsy, if I could, on behalf of the current cohort of students at LIU, the MFA program, Ruth just sent me a message saying they were a little confused about just what the mini rooms do. Do these projects get produced? And I think maybe just to break it down a little bit. So we have, on the one hand, we have Cindy's experience with studio mini rooms, which is small contained rooms for shows that are indeed getting produced for the most part. I mean, it sounds like your experience, Cindy, was with shows that were launching into a potential second season.
Or a potential first season, so like proof of the concept.
Yeah, and then in the case of Unreal Media, these are rooms that come together, create web series, and then the goal is definitely to get them produced. So it's the initial part of that pipeline. Am I right, Betsy? Am I describing that correctly?
Yes. For some of them, I've sent the scripts out to various studios and places. But Ken, you and I were actually going to be shooting this spring if
Yes.
coronavirus didn't shut us off. So yes, there is, for my production company, the hope that we will produce at least one of the pilots a year that come out of these rooms. So yes, that's very exciting. And thank you, Cindy, for always reminding us too of how we can work together and elevate each other's work. without having to even go through any door, you know, any even Unreal Media's door. Before I wanted to give a little time, people were really interested in learning about how we might virtually work together. And there's a new software called Writers Room Pro. And I've invited Jeffrey Schechter to come on and talk a little bit about it. I'm really excited. I just started using it in my film class at Colorado Film School, and the students are really engaged with it. And I think it could be exciting. And for somebody who's not at all tech savvy, I found it very user friendly. Before I turn it over to Jeffrey, I also just wanted to, SeriesFest and Unreal and Denver Film have also launched something this last week that is another leveling the playing field opportunity. We have joined to have a little film festival called Stay the F Home Film Festival. And so it just opened on Unreal Media's website today. And there's no rules other than you submit a 3-minute piece. You have to make it in and around the perimeter of your home and property. And the winners from that will get a badge to SeriesFest Virtual Festival. And also their film will get to screen at the Denver International Film Festival this year. And we just want to encourage all of us who are stuck at home to, to stop watching, I've been, CNN or whatever channel you watch, and maybe take on some content in whatever way you can. So I'm just putting a plug for that, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jeffrey. And thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And we're excited to hear from you now and learn how to use Writers Room Pro.
Okay, this is going to be the fastest demo I've ever done. It's going to be super fast. And thank you so much for asking me to come. So the app is called Writers Room Pro. We soft launched it in the fall of 2019, and we were just cautiously optimistic people might find it. I'm a showrunner and a writer, and I basically was between shows and was trying to figure out, and I also developed some tech in the past, so I was kind of like, well, what's something I can do while I'm waiting for my next writing adventure or show running adventure to happen? And it's like, well, I've always been kind of wondering why we never replaced the digital, the corkboards and whiteboards in a writer's room with something like digital. I mean, we don't cut on flatbeds and trim bins anymore. Nobody's using typewriters and legal pads. And, every time there's like a shift from a analog technology to a digital technology, like efficiency increases and functionality increases, and it becomes more economical over the long run. So anyway, I teamed up with my old tech partner, and we came up with this. And then coronavirus hit, and suddenly it's like we were just the right app at the right time. So very quickly, in your typical writer's room, you're going to find 4 types of boards. There's like a season board, which gives you the big moves of the entire season. Character board has all your characters. Episode board is when after you're done breaking your season, you're going to drill down into those episodes. And scrap board, I call it scrap board. They call it the duck pond. It's just a place for random ideas. You don't know where they go yet, so it's just a place that you stick cards or notes or whatever. And we recreated it digitally in a way that would, like Betsy said, just feel very intuitive. We weren't trying to come up with super special features. It was just like, no, how do we just create the experience? And I think we actually kind of got pretty close, which is my humble way of saying I think we nailed it. So I'm going to share my screen if that's a thing I'm allowed to do here. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good.
So this is my fake project that I just used for demos. It's a little thing called The Islanders. I set it up as a 10-episode arc, but with a story, Writers Room Pro rather. Like I go to my project settings, you can see, when you set up a project, you can pick the boards you want, what your episodic structure is. Teaser. I set this up as a teaser, 5 acts, no tag, but I could change it around if I wanted to. And what's my episode numbering that I like? Like you put down, I go for the 3-digit one. Some people like the 4 digits. Some people 1 digit. I pick the format. Doesn't really mean anything. It's just a way of keeping me on track. And then I said season 1 and 10 episodes. Okay. And then when I created it, I ended up with this project. I'm not going to go back to my home screen yet. I'll bounce out of it so you can see what the projects page looks like. But basically, this is the season board, right? So this is the episodes across the top. Some people like their episodes, they're going vertically. So we just built in this rotate the board so you can switch the board however you want it. I always liked it across the top, so I'll rotate that. These are the 10 episodes, and this would be the big moves of episode 101, right? And the boards are limitless in size, so it's not like a cork board where you actually run out of space. You can just keep adding rows and rows of cards as you do it. Each one of these cards was hand created. To create a card here, let me scroll down here. Creating card, super simple. Find an empty blank, double click, card opens up, and you can enter text. And that's with the text tool. You can also, there's a pen tool. So if you wanted for whatever reason to highlight something, you do that. You can also use a highlighter if you wanted to highlight some information. And then you can also color code the card. There are basically 14 colors that most writers' rooms use, like 7 pastel-y ones and 7 crazy hot bright ones. So you can color code the card however you want. And there it is. That's the card we just created. The cards themselves have no limit. The index cards you can just keep adding text to it. When you add more text than is visible on the card, you get these little 3 dots. It tells me, like if I look at this card and I open it, it tells me that there's more information below the bottom of the card. That's what those 3 dots mean. We're having a feature coming out soon where if you do a long press on a card, you'll get the whole window will kind of open up and you can see what the text is. You go, that's the card I want. Then you can go in and edit it. You can do this little icon here. That's a stacking icon. Sometimes you want to have like your big here, like here, the train crash beat, but that's just what happens. That's not really the main thing I really want to focus on. So what I really want is this one. So I would drag this to here, and now I've stacked my cards. That's what that little circular icon is. So I stacked my cards. Just like I kept thinking, like in a writer's room, a physical writer's room, what would I do with the cards? Well, I would stack them. I would sometimes, you see people take cards to each other if it's too much information. So, I tried to just say, what's the digital solution to an analog problem? If I double click that stack, both cards open, so I can edit them both. You have some basic formatting. I'm not sure that, usually, no, people don't really do so much formatting, but you can center it. Plus we have like little navigation tools, chat windows in case you want to send a quick message. Hey, where the hell was that train crash scene? And somebody could respond to you, right? So there's a chat window that opens up like down there. We have a little navigation window so that you can see what's off the edges of the map. You just use that navigation window. We have our zoomer outer tool. It's a technical term for it. We have our zoomer inner tool. So you can, you can make the boards, as big or small. It was really designed to be in the physical writer's room. And, like on a 65-inch, 75-inch monitor, it just, 4K monitor, it's beautiful. It looks crystal clear from across the room, and you blow up the cards as big or as small as you want. So that's a season board. The episode board, for example, this would be like, these are the 10 episodes. It's like, you can have a show. It's like if you have 24 episode order, so fewer and fewer of those shows out there. But you count the number of cork boards in that writer's room. It's like you'll have your season board, and you might have 2 because you can't fit 24 episodes on one cork board. So you have like 2 season boards. You'll have 24 episode boards. That people are like shuffling these cork boards around, like they're playing cards. You'll have your character boards, probably 2 of those. You literally could have almost 30 cork boards in a room. And here, it's like, here, I'm in episode 1, I can jump to episode 2, episode 3, right? So you're taking the pressure off of carrying boards up to your office and nobody's able to see it. You have to look at pictures that somebody took. So this would be like this is the episode board, character board. Here's one I just kind of mocked up here. Let me zoom out a little so we can see more of it. What a lot of people do, I'm going to close my chat window so we can see a bit more. What a lot of people do is color code. Jonathan is going to be, yellow, and Sam is white, and Kay is red. So then when you look at a board, so you can look here and you see, oh, there are red cards. Oh, I know which characters those are. We're going to have a feature coming out within the next couple of weeks where you can just filter out. So just show me the red cards. Boom, everything else disappears. You just see the red cards. So that was the character board. And the same thing, these boards are all, you can rotate them. So some people like the characters across the top. I actually like them across the top. So you just set up the boards like that. So it's just trying to increase the efficiency and make things a lot easier. And then you have a scrap board. Just, I didn't know what to do with this beat. Here's some casting ideas. I don't know, dialogue ideas, right? It's free forms, however you want to do it. We have some super double cool things like a search function here. Like if I said, oh, where can I find Darius? He's one of my characters. So as soon as I start typing Darius, it's showing me every card, and this is the location information of where I can find him. He's on the season board, episode 106 in the 4th position. And if I click on that card, there, it's just dropped it in. It shows me where it was. And if I was in a different board and I searched for Darius, it would take me to Darius there. Other things, no time to really talk about it. You can download beat sheets. You can download all the information or just a particular board. It imports beautifully. If you download it as a text file, it imports into Final Draft. And if you happen to do something like this, and you just type in interior school day, and you start adding your slug lines. When you export it as a text and import it into Final Draft as a script file, it knows that that's a slug line. So it's like the writers' room assistants and script coordinators who at the end of the day are, transcribing the contents of a board. It takes hours and hours at the end of a day to do it. It's one click, literally takes 2 seconds to download it. So that's the super quick thing. We've all sorts of other kind of features in, but now if that was the only experience you had with Writers Room Pro, I'll bounce out to my projects page. If that was the only experience you had with Writers Room Pro, you basically now know how to use it. I mean, it's just that simple, and it's touch screen. So on an iPad, it looks really beautiful. You can drag cards, drop them in, into different places. It's like the cards rearrange. I'll just open this project quickly, right? So if I go to here, my season board, this one, something I've been playing around with, right? So if I drag that between there, the cards rearrange. So it's no more push pins and things like that. And it's like obviously we all feel horrible at the people who are suffering and hurting with coronavirus, and but it's forced people to look for a solution like this, and we just happen to be that right solution at that right time. We're probably in 11 studios now, 20 some odd shows. So it's kind of caught on, and we're offering a special. We have 2 basic subscriptions for consumers / prosumer. So it's an indie subscription. It's just you're just working by yourself, or you have a partner. So we have a partner subscription, and they're relatively inexpensive. It's $9.98 a month for the indie and $17.98 for a partner license. And we I should actually do this. I'll type it up here so you can kind of see it. We're thanks to Betsy and the gang at SeriesFest and Unreal Media. If you SeriesFest 2020, so if you use that as a discount code, you get a whopping 10% off. Yeah, whatever, leave me alone. So it's but you get 10% off, so you save a little bit of money, and that's for the duration of your subscription. It's a monthly subscription. The studio license is much bigger, is more expensive, but there's security.
Jeffrey, a question came in from Megan, who was curious, how many collaborators, how many logins can you have on a project?
On a partner license, you have one owner and 1 collaborator. On a indie license, there's no collaborators. We used to offer a thing called a team license, which we kind of discontinued. We were kind of getting into a little bit of trouble with our studio clients because because shows were using the team license and kind of skirting the higher level of security that's built into the studio license. So we kind of asked by a couple of studios if we could take team license off the table. But
you could, not everyone could write into it, but if you were working with a group, you could screen share like you're doing now.
Right, exactly, 100%. Right, so that's kind of the slot, and maybe we'll find a way to get back to that sort of group license. We'd have an academic license where it's like you'll the class could, kind of buy it, and, and for the duration of the class, you have multiple collaborators, but the teacher's kind of, or the instructor rather, is sort of the, the showrunner, so to speak. So it's, they're the ones kind of controlling that, that experience. But, but that's, kind of in a nutshell, it's kind of the app. And I know some people are thinking, look, I'm working by myself. Why do I need, I want to write a TV pilot. I want to develop a show. Why do I need 10 episodes? Why do I need, why do I need to think about all the characters in this? I'm just trying to write a pilot. The reality is, if you're lucky enough, and this is a big if you're lucky enough to get a professional studio or a showrunner or somebody, an agent, somebody who can change your life, interested in your concept, the first thing they're going to do, no matter how good your pilot is, they're going to say, what does the rest of the season look like? Tell me about the characters. Do you have any ideas for other episodes, right? What's the season arc? What are the character arcs? You have to, even if you're only writing that one pilot, even if it's just a pitch and I'm writing the pilot, you actually have to do this heavy lifting up front if you want to have a chance to play professionally in the business. So, so I just encourage people to say, I'm just going to write a pilot. Right? It's like, think, even if you don't use this, use something else, but think it through. Really understand what makes your show. And the way to do that is think about each episode. Think about those big arcs. So I will stop my screen share.
Hopefully, one last question from an LIU student who Cheyenne was asking on the site. I think she means your site. It says student licenses include access for a partner. Is that per project or per license?
That is on a student license. The presumption is that the student, it's like one owner and one partner, right? So if the owner is, you're creating like a class project and you invite somebody to join that. But I think on the student license, the way we have it set up, we kind of got a little messed up because of coronavirus and schools being canceled. So we actually haven't, gotten into schools yet because, right as we were launching, things were closing down. But the idea is that the student as a owner of the project is inviting, is inviting other people to, and students themselves, kind of get the student license and they can keep joining each other's projects. So, it's kind of a different kind of creature, but it should work. When we get to the point of seeing if it works, we'll make it work. So,
Jeffrey, it looks like there are a few questions about this.
Sure.
Do you have an email address that they can send it? Would you like me to read a couple of these?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the Q&As now. Okay. How do I sell this to Luddite partners? Yeah, it's, the same way you would sell anything. It's like, you go, look, if the COVID-19 thing has taught us anything, it's that, it's you have to adapt, right? So there's an inevitability, whether coronavirus happened or not, there was an inevitability to a program like Writers Room Pro, right? It's much the way that there was as soon as digital editing became cost efficient, there was an inevitability that trim bins and flatbeds were going away and digital cameras became more cost efficient. Computers, right? It's like, as soon as computers dropped below that magic $2,000 range, I got my first computer in 1981 and everybody was still using typewriters and legal pads. I mean, who's going back to typewriters and legal pads now? So it's just, it's kind of an inevitability that there will be a digital replacement. So this just happens to be the one that's available now. Is there? I'm not gonna. If somebody wants to read me some of the questions, there's also people can shoot me an email. I'm a Jeff, JEFF @writersroompro.com.
Perfect. So, great, because I want to be respectful of our time. Good. That's Jeff @writersroompro.com. Follow-up questions about this really cool program you created.
Thank you.
It is. It looks great.
Thank you. Oh, I should say. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I just should say that discount coupon is good until Friday, the 24th. So.
All right, there we go. Betsy, is there any sort of last thoughts you have about the mini room experience, or things you wanted to get out that we didn't have a chance to get out yet?
I'm just looking at my notes. No, I think and I'll give you my email address if anyone wants to follow up. It's Betsy @unreal.media. You know, my biggest pitch is for inclusiveness and equity and feeling like at any age, with any experience, we can pursue our passions. And I'm thrilled that all of you were able to join. And Cindy, thank you so much. And Ken, thank you so much. And Jeffrey and Claire and Misty. And
You're welcome.
This was amazing, Ken. And
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to thank all of the attendees, all of the panelists on behalf of the LIU TV Writers Studio. It's our MFA in television writing and producing. And I wanted to thank especially Kamor Hardiman and Tumelo and Ruth, who've been such incredible partners in presenting all of this. The LIU program is a TV Writers Room program. That's what we do. We're still, because of coronavirus, we are still taking applications for the fall. Just throwing that last pitch. But mostly, I'm just thrilled that this was such a successful afternoon of investigating the future of the TV Writers Room. And I thank all of you for being part of it. And stay healthy, stay safe, and we shall all see each other down the road.
Thank you so much, Ken.
bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Betsy.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Are you going to end the meeting? Oh, there you go.
And that's the end of our webinar. We'll see you hopefully in the future.
Bye, Ruth. Bye, Tumelo.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.